Okay, Erev Tov, good evening, everyone. Let's begin. We, Be'ezrat Hashem, are going to finish and complete the perek tonight, which is a nice way to hopefully conclude as we're ending the season of Simchat Torah. We conclude the Torah. Let's also conclude our perek. Be'ezrat Hashem. Hey, how are you? Let's go. We did not have shiur last week. It was Hoshana Rabbah, but the week before we had shiur. We've been going through a series of different statements, first by different prayers of rabbis, prayers that they would say themselves, personal prayers at the end of their tefillah, which then transition into common sayings of rabbis. This rabbi would always say this statement, another rabbi would always say that statement. And we got into a statement by Rav, I believe, that we said last time, that Rav spoke about Olam Haba. How Rav's story, Maragala Befuma, the Rav, was that what Olam Haba is, and we sort of got sidetracked. We went on a tangent, but you guys wanted it. We spoke from the Rambam's Hilchot Teshuvah, what exactly Olam Haba is. We spoke about that last week. Tonight we're going to conclude this idea of different sayings, of different statements of rabbis, conclude our Mishnah, the commentary of our Mishnah, and then we're going to go to the next perek. Okay? You guys excited? Let's go. Let's go. We are on Gemara, Mesechet. Berachot, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, 17A. If you are looking in the art scroll, we are now going to go to Gedolah Haftacha Sheftichan, 17A4. Right? 17A4. Gedolah. Yeah, it's right on the top. Gedolah. Okay, so let's go. 17A4. Gedolah, Haftacha, Sheiftichan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Anashim, Yoter Min Ha'anashim. This is a statement that the Gemara is now, again, it's a transition from the previous Gemarot, it's continuing to this, that the promise that Hashem made for women is greater than the promise made for men. Okay, we have to explain what this means, but greater is the promise for the future. This statement it doesn't tell us the name, but it's a statement of the Gemara. The promise, it's all of these common sayings. This is one of the common sayings, and you're going to see there's very important concepts here for women. When we spoke about Olam Haba and how we go to Olam Haba, and a lot of when we're sitting on Olam Haba, we have our crowns, which is all of the Torah mitzvot that we accomplished in this world. It says in the promise that women have for Olam Haba, Gedolah Haftacha Shiftichan HaKadosh Baruch Hu Nashim, Yoter Min Nashim. The women have a greater promise in Olam Haba. Shneimar, as the pasuk in Yeshayahu says, Nashim Sha'ananot Komna. Women who are at ease, they are relaxed because they are confident. Komna, arise. Shema'ana Koli, listen to my voice. Banot Botchot, confident daughters, Ha'azena imrati, listen to what I say. So this is Hashem is speaking to women, and he says to them, women who are at ease, women who are confident. It has a double expression, as if to say, women, you're good. Don't worry. You're a woman, you're getting VIP status in Olam Haba. Women are getting this greater status. Okay, so now there's this question of why are women getting this greater status? So it's somewhat connected to this point. Amar le Rav, le Rabbi Chia. Rav asked Rabbi Chia, Nashim b'mai zachyan. What do they get this reward for? Nashim, women, b'mai zachyan. By what virtue do they merit to receive this reward? There's different ways of explaining this, but it's like a continuation of this previous Gemara, where you're saying women get higher promise, they get higher VIP status. So the next line, Rav says, in what merit? It must be that the women are doing something that the men are not doing. Then in the merit of that, they're getting some greater status. So here we go. There are three things. They bring their children to the Bet Knesset to study Torah. Okay, they take their kids. It's almost like carpool. They're taking their children to the Bet Knesset, to the yeshiva, to study Torah. That's one. They send their husbands to the study hall to go study Torah, they tell their husband, go. This is what you call getting a visa, right? If you want to come to a shiur and your wife doesn't let you go, it's not getting approved. You can't go. So when the woman says, yes, go, okay, there's that. There's one more thing that women have. And they wait at home for their husbands until they return from the study hall. Okay, so there's three things that women have that men don't have. Men have the mitzvah of Talmud Torah to a different level than women. Men are obligated in Talmud Torah at a different level than women. Now, women still have to. Am I sharing my screen? Yeah. Women still have to learn Torah to know what they have to do. They're obligated in many mitzvot, and there are things that they have to know what to do. But they're not obligated in the Limud Torah the same way men are. So men have Limud Torah to give them zechuyot. What about women? Here, there's three things that women have. Number one, let me just there's three things. Number one, they take their students, their children to yeshiva. They drive their kids to the yeshiva. Number two, they send their husbands to go learn. And number three, they wait at home for their husbands from when they're coming home from the learning, from the study hall, from the Beit Midrash, from where we are now, from studying Torah. Okay, what does this mean? I once read that a very nice explanation. Man comes to study Torah. Okay, when he's driving in the car, he's not getting the zechut of studying Torah. Okay, he's getting himself ready for it, but he's not getting himself the zechut for studying Torah. Let's say he comes to the yeshiva and he chit-chats. So he goes over there and starts eating some cookies and chips, makes himself a chai, make himself another chai, make himself a hot chocolate or whatever. Whatever he starts drinking, during that time, he's not getting a reward for a Torah study. He's not studying Torah, right? Or on his way back. Or if there's this, there's that, is saying hi to someone. He's not getting the zechut for studying Torah. But the woman, why should she lose out because her husband is busy getting a drink? As far as she's concerned, she let her husband go. So this is what they're saying. The woman gets the zechut from the start to the end. Just waiting, meaning from the moment that he leaves to the moment that he comes back, to that entire time, she gets the zechut of supporting Torah, even if he's not doing it. This is like one nice explanation that I read. Now, for the husbands, it doesn't mean that you should go start wasting time. Chas v'shalom. You should be using that time to study Torah. But it's saying how this is the zechut for the women. The zechut for the women is threefold. Number one, they are taking their children to go study yeshiva. Number two, they encourage their husbands to go study Torah. And number three, they have to take care of the home. They have to take care of the home while their husbands are not there and they're studying Torah, and that's their zechut. So this is why the pasuk says, women, oh, you're fine. Because your challenges are more difficult than the men in certain ways. And so because of that, you have this zechut. Now, I think it's a nice idea for a woman, and especially for a man who's married, Baruch Hashem, you have an eshet chayil. The support that a man gets from his wife can make or break him. If his wife supports him studying Torah, and pushes him to study Torah, encourages him to study Torah, encourages him to go to Bet Knesset, encourages him to go to Minyan, then he can do it. If the woman doesn't do that, if the woman is the opposite, doesn't want him to go study Torah, doesn't want him to go to Bet Knesset, doesn't want him to go to Minyan, doesn't want him to go pray, it's going to be very difficult for him to do it. Now he has a Shalom Bayit issue, and it's going to be very challenging. So everything that the man does is really in the hands of the woman. It's in the hands of his wife. She enables him to do good. She also could block him from doing good. That's why she has the keys in her hand, as if to say she has the keys. Like there could be husbands that don't want to, and the wife pushes and encourages him to want to do well. So there's a very, very nice, beautiful Gemara to say how we each play our roles. It's not the same thing. Men and women don't have the same role to play. But don't think for a second that if the man is studying the Torah and the woman is taking care of the home, that she has anything less. The opposite. The Gemara says that she has more confidence in her position, because whether you're studying the Torah or not, she is supporting you in doing it. So as far as she's concerned, she's getting reward from beginning to end. Whereas the man, he has to earn it by actually putting in that time when she's supporting him to go. Or the kids at yeshiva. Does she get the reward for sending her kids to yeshiva? She's driving the kids to yeshiva, and then while the kid is at school, he's wasting time. Okay, but that's not her fault. So she gets full reward for full 100% participation of studying Torah the entire day, whether the kid does it or not. But the kid, it's only if he actually does it. He or she actually does it. Okay, so that's a nice Gemara about ladies. All right, let's keep going. All right, another statement. Remember, we're going through statements of rabbis. Again, this was a three-pronged statement. Rav told us about Olam Haba. Then he tells us that women have like a VIP pass into Olam Haba, and why? It's because of these mitzvot that they do that men don't do. Obviously, there are many mitzvot that women do, but these are unique to women in the sense that they're not obligated to study Torah, but they are obligated or they get zechut for supporting their husbands and their children in studying Torah. Okay, next statement. Kiavu miftare Rabbanan mibe Rabbi Ami. So Rabbi Ami had a yeshiva, and they would go to the yeshiva and they would study there. Then after the semester was over, they would go home. Okay, so after the semester is over, as they were leaving, they would give each other berachot. They give each other hugs, kisses, and they give their farewell speech. This is what they would say. Some say it was actually a different yeshiva. This is what they would say to each other. You should see your world in your lifetime, which is a way of saying that you should benefit from everything that you accomplish. Everything that you're doing, hopefully you should see the fruits of your labor in your lifetime. And your ultimate end should go to Olam Haba, meaning you should merit to have Olam Haba. And you should have, your hope should be for generation to generation, meaning you should have a legacy. How do they translate it? And may your hope be sustained for many generations. So it says, you should see the fruits of your labor, you should merit to have Olam Haba, and that you should have the zechut, that your name and your legacy will exist from generation to generation. This is like a nice farewell, man. This is, I guess, this is like their farewell song. You know, like they sing a graduation song. This is their graduation song. Your heart should meditate understanding, meaning you should have understanding. Your mouth should speak wisdom. Your tongue should whisper praise. Your eyelids look directly before you, means you should stay focused, eye on the prize. You should have your vision on things that they should be focused on. Your eyes should illuminate with the light of Torah. Your face should shine like the brightness of the heaven. Wow. No one ever said this to me. Your lips should express knowledge. Your kidneys rejoice in the upright. And your feet should run to hear the words of Hashem. Of ancient days, it's referring to Hashem. Okay, what a bracha. It's basically giving a bracha that everything you worked hard for this past semester, you should Be'ezrat Hashem, you should see the fruits of your labor. You should get Olam Haba. You should have bracha. Every single one of your body parts should be doing good. Your mouth should be doing good. Your eyes should be doing good. Your eyelids should be good, doing good. Your face should be shining. Giving them tons of bracha. Okay, very good. Imagine you say this next time someone asks me for a bracha. I say this, and people are going to say, "Where's my money?" This is what they're going to say. There's no money here. I want money. Okay, let's keep going. When the rabbis, I love this one. Okay, this one I really love, and I'm going to show you the pasuk because there's a lot of nice ideas in this pasuk. Who you know the tune on Motzei Shabbat? Anyone know Le David? Suri. Okay, very good, very good. So there's a pasuk. Let me show it to you. This is the paragraph that we say on Motzei Shabbat before our Arvit. Here. Okay, this is the line, not line 14. That's the line we're going to focus on. But just to like give you a head start, Mizavenu mileim, our storehouses are full. Mifikim mizan elzan, they're supplying all sorts of good things of sustenance. Sonenu ma'alifot, our animals, our sheep are in the thousands. Merubavot, the tens of thousands. Bechutzotenu, in our fields, we are wealthy. We have a lot of money. Everything is good. Alufenu mesubalim, our animals. Alufenu here, they translate as cattle. And that's what we're going to play with this word. Alufenu mesubalim, our animals are very laden. That means they're rich, they're fat, they're healthy. En peretz and yotzet, there's no breaches in our fence. There's no one breaking through our borders, meaning we're protected. There's no breaches in our borders. There's no wailing in our streets. No one is crying out in our streets. Shalom Adai, you think about October 7th, there was breaches and there was people screaming. This is exactly the bracha that we have, is that we should be safe. We should be wealthy. We should have the money. This is about this. Your animals are very well cared for. And perek and yotzet, we don't have any breaches. We're safe in the streets. And tzevacha b'rechovotenu. Ashrei ha'am shekach lo, ashrei ha'am she'Adonai lo. Happy is the people who have this. Happy are the people that Hashem is their God. Now, this word alufenu mesubalim that they translate here is our cattle are well cared for. Aluf. What is an aluf? Very good. What? The chiefs. What'd you say? The legends. Alufenu as our leaders, our chiefs, our legends, our tops, our best. It's talking about our Chachamim. This is what the Gemara is now going to do. Alufenu mesubalim. It's talking about our Chachamim. The word mesubal, as I explained, it means well, that they have a lot on them. Mesubal, sorry? Yes. Lisbol means to carry a burden. Okay? That means mesubal means that they're carrying a lot. Alufenu mesubalim means that our sages are carrying a lot on them. That's how they're going to learn this. So now with this context, I hope you see how they're taking his pasuk and they're sending their friend. Now the yeshiva of Rabbi Chisda is closed, or the yeshiva of Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani is closed. They're done for the semester. They're going home. What would they say at the end of the semester? What was their graduation speech? Ki avu miftarei Rabbanan miber Rav Chisda v'amina miber Rabbi Shmuel Bar Nachmani. When that yeshiva was over and they would leave, Amri lehachi, they would say this. They would say the following to each other: Alufenu mesubalim. Our leaders are laden. So they would give each other this bracha. Alufenu, referring to you, Talmidei Chachamim, you should be well cared for. You should not have any breaches in your home. You should not have any screaming in the streets. You should have peace. Ashrei am shekach lo. This is the bracha they would say. Now, as we expand on this pasuk, Alufenu mesubalim, Rav and Shmuel had opposing ways of learning these pasukim out. Ve'amila Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar. Some say no, there's two opposing views. For Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar, what would they say? Chad Amar. Some says, Alufenu, they're our leaders, our chiefs. Batorah, in Torah, umesubalim bemitzvot. And they are laden and they are carrying a lot of mitzvot. So one of them says this as Alufenu mesubalim, as positive. Our leaders in Torah are also filled with mitzvot. V'chad Amar, the opposite. Alufenu, our leaders, but Torah mitzvot, the leaders, the ones that are doing the Torah mitzvot the most, mesubalim be'isurim, are the ones that suffer the most. Wow, you could see how there's probably different rabbis, and some of them have more challenging lives than others. And so there's two ways of viewing this. Alufenu mesubalim means our leaders are carrying a lot. So you could either say it as our leaders of Torah are carrying a lot of mitzvot. They're very strong, they have a lot of mitzvot. Or you could have the more negative view of our leaders are the ones that are carrying the most burdens. They have the most challenges. They have the most issues. Turning to 17B, remember the pasuk said, En peretz, there is no breach. En yotzet, there's no leaving. En tzevacha, there's no screaming. Pay attention to the flow of this Gemara. There's a prayer that we're saying, En peretz, that there are no breaches. What are we asking for? If you're going to tell me it's talking about animals, then you don't want any breaches with your animal's pen. You don't want any breaches with your territory. But if this pasuk is talking about the leaders, the rabbis, what do you mean there's no breaches? What does that mean that there's no breach with the rabbis? Here, Shelo teheh siato kesiato shel David sheyatza mimenu Achitofel. So that the rabbis shouldn't have someone from their group that breaks off and goes off the derech, if you will, like David HaMelech had a group, and one of his advisors was named Achitofel, and Achitofel caused the breach in the kingdom of David. Look at the footnote here. Footnote number 2, quoting Tosfot, Achitofel was an advisor to King David and subsequently rebelled against him. So the tefillah that they would say is that the rabbis, hopefully all of us stay and none of us breach off, the same way David HaMelech had Achitofel breach off and rebel against him. That's number 1. The en yotzet means that there is no going forth, there's no leaving. Shelo teheh siato kesiato shel Shaul. that we should not have the group, the faction, like Shaul HaMelech, sheyatza mimenu doeg ha'adomi, that from him came out doeg ha'adomi. Once again, it's someone who rebelled against Shaul. We're talking about different leaders, David HaMelech, Shaul HaMelech, that there was someone in their group that rebelled against them, and that's very painful. If you have enemies is one thing, but when you have friends like this, who needs enemies? So when you have someone within your group that's leaving, that's the worst. So the tefillah that the rabbis are saying to each other, or this pasuk is talking about, if you say it's talking about the rabbis, we're saying we don't want to have a breach like David HaMelech had with Achitophel. We don't want to have someone leaving like Shaul HaMelech had with Doeg HaAdomi. Ve'en sevacha, there is no screaming. Shelo teheh siyato kesiyato shel Elisha. Another example, there's no screaming. That is referring to Elisha Hanavi. He had one of his workers was Gehazi. Gehazi, we actually spoke about him in Gemara Masechet Berachot earlier on. He was improper. There's a story where he took advantage or he held a woman in an improper way. Oh, maybe we didn't do it. We did do it, right? Isha Shunamit. Okay, whatever. Elisha had his shamish, one of the guys working for him, was not proper, and he did things that was inappropriate. So, like you have a campaign and then you find out one of your people all of a sudden is a terrible person, it takes your entire reputation down, even though you had nothing to do with it. So similarly, Elisha had Gehazi. So you're praying for there not to be bad people coming out of your group. Ready, guys? Pay attention. Number 4. Berachot in our streets. What is this in our streets referring to? Shelo yeheh lanu ben, so that we don't have a son, or tamid, or a child. Shemaktiach tavshilo barabim, who overcooks his food in public, who sins in public and causes others to sin. Kegon Yeshu Anotzri, like Yeshu. Okay? So you see the flow here. The flow is we don't want to have someone that leaves, like someone that rebels against us, like David had with Achitophel, or Shaul had with Doeg, or Elisha had with Gehazi, or we don't want to have a student or a child that goes off the path, like Yeshu. Now, if you look in your Gemara, now I'm going to take you look at guys. Look at your article. Do you see those last 3 words? Kigon Yeshu Anotzri. Are they there? Do you find them or no? Just see if you see it in the Gemara. No, if you look at the art scroll, there's a space there. They don't quote these Kigon Yeshu Anotzri. Do you see what I'm saying or no? It's not in the English, it's not in the Hebrew. Let me show you the text of the actual Gemara. So here is the Gemara. Shelo yeheh lanu ben or tamid, so that we don't have a son or a student, shemaktiach tavshilo barabim, that burns his dish in public, meaning that he goes and does things improper. Period. What is this? What is this thing? Kegon Yeshu Hanotzri, like Yeshu. So I want to show you a video. Okay. This is a very short video from Old Daf. It's a professor, and he very often will bring in some nice history messages, and I thought this was nice. Here, watch, look at the screen. Am I sharing? I hope whoever's sharing, let me make sure that when I share, you'll be able to hear. Advanced sharing options. Who can share? All right, whatever. Share, entire screen. Share sound. Boom. You want a high fidelity? Okay, you're gonna. I'm sharing the sound with you. Okay, ready? Watch this.
This video is dedicated by the Huberfeld family in memory of Pinchas ben Moshe Aaron Huberfeld, Alav Shalom.
3 missing.
Hello and welcome to Jewish History and Daf Yomi. Today I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about something that is missing in the Talmud, specifically 3 missing words. So if you're learning with a traditional Vilna Shas, something like this one here with the traditional Surah Sadaf, you'll notice that on Yud Zayin Amud Beis 17B, about 2, 4, 6 lines down from the bottom,
They're censoring us, but I'm prepared. I downloaded it beforehand.
Hello and welcome to Jewish History and Daf Yomi. Today I'd like to spend a few minutes talking about something that is missing in the Talmud, specifically Surah Sadaf. You'll notice that on Yud Zayin Amud Beis 17B, about 2, 4, 6 lines down from the bottom, there's discussion of several characters in Jewish history, and then it just ends with Tavshilo Barabim, and that's it. It ends with a colon like that. But if you look in a more modern printing, like for example the Steinsaltz edition, you'll see that it adds 3 words. It says Shemakdiach Tavshilo Barabim Kegon Yesho Hanotzri. What is going on here? So you can also, by the way, do this directly in the Aldaf app. You can see the differences here. If you're in the Aldaf app, you can actually see this yourself. Here, let me just take my other hand and enlarge this. You can see, known to the Christian world as a whole, in the 13th are highly sensitive, and they're most likely a sign of self-censorship. Because when the Talmud became known to the Christian world, so obviously those 3 words are highly sensitive, and they're most likely a sign of...
Okay. So sorry. He's basically going to say that this is what a sign of what's called self-censorship, that it was part of the Gemara, and the Jews took it out of the Gemara because they didn't want to say negative things about him because of the prominence of Christianity.
And those are the words that are missing from the traditional Vilna Shas. So obviously those 3 words are highly sensitive, and they're most likely a sign of self-censorship. Because when the Talmud became known to the Christian world as a whole, in the 13th century in particular, when an apostate named Nicholas Donin complained to Pope Innocent III that, you know, the reason why the Jews aren't converting to Christianity, the main reason is because they have this book called the Talmud. If you were to take control of the Talmud, then you would be able to, affect the spiritual trajectory of Jewish life, which is in fact true. Now, this ironically named Pope Innocent III ended up burning 24 wagon loads of Talmuds in Paris, which was a huge tragedy of incredible proportions. But after that time, the church became much more interested in what is actually in the content of the Talmud. We will return to the subject, I hope, as we go through Shas. And there were several Talmuds that were printed with tremendous excisions throughout as a result of very invasive church censorship. Also related, perhaps even more significant, however, is Jewish self-censorship. Once printers realized that with censorship, they could not publish certain documents. This is after the 16th century in particular, the beginning of the 16th century. Jewish printers began to censor their own works in order to make sure it would pass the censor. And they would rely on the oral tradition of the rabbi and student relationship to give over whatever is missing information or whatever is somehow elided in the text. So that's what's going on here. There's a reference here, an uncomplimentary reference to the founder of Christianity, and most likely the publishers decided not to include it in order to get past the censors. Now you might wonder, so how do we know it existed? Well, because we have many manuscripts that escaped the censor's attention. Manuscripts, for example, that were put together in Muslim countries, which did not have such egregious interference in the Talmudic text, and a lot of other manuscript research like that can generate these missing passages. So in the Aldaf app, you have both the traditional text and you have some of the more modern readings that are a result of more critical scholarship. I hope that illuminated your daf, and I wish you hatzlacha in your learning.
Okay, amazing. So what you see here is like there's a flow of Gemara of saying, hey, we don't want to be like this, we don't want to be like that, we don't want to be like this, we don't want to be like that. And there's 4, and for the first 3, it gives us a name of someone. For the last one, it's talking about your student or your son burning his dish in public. What does that mean? That means doing something to basically destroy everything that you've been building, to start a different religion, to go off the derech in that certain sense. And so what the Gemara here is saying, and I want to share with you a couple things based on this. But the Gemara here, our text that you have in Sefaria throws in Kagon Yeshua Notzri, but you see how there's some history that it's actually not in the art scroll, it's not in the Vilna edition, probably because we didn't want it in there, because of these 3 words for the entire Gemara to be taken away from us. So it's like this self-censorship, which is an extremely important concept throughout Jewish history. We have the same type of concept with Megillat Esther. Megillat Esther was published under Achashverosh's rule. So there has to be some self-censorship, some very interesting ideas here. I just want to share with you 1 or 2 ideas. One, I'll just share you one. Rav Hershel Schechter, am I sharing screen? No. Rav Hershel Schechter, one of the Rashi Yeshiva at YU, I heard in the shiur quoting him, that there was once like a question and answer forum, and they were asking a bunch of questions, and someone asked him, what is your greatest accomplishment? This is someone who probably has maybe tens of thousands of students, maybe even more. Maybe he has hundreds of thousands of students, the entire YU world for the past however many years. Many Svarim he's written and has done so much. What is your greatest accomplishment? And you know what he said? He says that all of my children are in the ways of Torah. That's my greatest accomplishment. And it's something that's very challenging to make sure to raise your children in a way where they love Torah, for them not to throw it away, not to kick it, not to, as they say, to go off the derech, to rebel. It's very difficult. It's a very difficult challenge. And so he said, this is my greatest accomplishment. And like, this is what we're praying for here, that your students or your children follow in the proper path. So it's a very nice idea. And there's a few other things to discuss, but let's pause for questions. Yes, go ahead.
I still don't understand. Those 3 words that got there is why.
Kigon Yeshu Hanotri, which means like Jesus. It's saying how the pasuk is saying, hey, we don't want to have the following. We don't want to have someone that rebels against us, like Achitophel did against David. We don't want to have someone that rebels us, like Doeg did against Shaul. We don't want to have someone that acts inappropriately, like Gehazi did, he was the servant of Elisha. And we don't want to have someone that goes in public and starts doing things that are improper, and then it just stops. So it says no. There's also a like Jesus, like Yeshu, and it's not in this text, but it is in those texts. And I just showed you how there's some research that he's very good, by the way. It's very short videos on all daf. He brings in like historical context, and it's very nice. Question?
Arming with it was a time when like there's a lot of animosity against Jews from Christians in Europe.
100%. So the thing, okay, the question is, historically, was there a time where there was animosity between Jews and Christians?
No, like at the time of the Gemara being written.
The time of the Gemara being written. So there's 2 things here. Number one, the Gemara was written between the years 200 and 500. It was absolutely there was Christianity at that time, and Yeshu was a Jew, right? Jesus was a Jew. He was a student. The way the Gemara says, Sanhedrin says he was a student of Rabbi Yeshua ben Berachot. He was one of the Tanaim. He was the time period of the Tanaim, and he was a Talmid Chacham. He was a Talmid Chacham, and he was one of the Tanaim. You know, we talk about Rabbi Akiva as a Tana, we talk about Rabbi Yeshua ben Berachot as a Tana, Rabbi Elazar as a Tana, he was a Tana. But he reformed the religion. And so this is exactly what we're saying, is you have someone who is powerful and influential, and then goes and breaks off and took everyone with him. So there's that. But the other aspect of this is, as he alluded to in this video, it wasn't just when the times of the Talmud was being written, it's also the times that the Talmud was being printed. So the Talmud was printed in the year 1000, 2000, years 1000, 1100 in Europe. They also had to go through this. So he said, what year did he say is Pope Innocent? Pope Innocent, he said, was the year
12th century, 16th century.
Yeah. So that wasn't when
it was like a reason for
Pope,
Catholics to harm the Jews.
Yeah, exactly. Pope Innocent was in the year 1100, 1200. So meaning that this was in the Gemara for 1,000 years, and they took it out when they started to give him issue. So it wasn't just when the Gemara was written that there was an issue. It was at points in history when we were under Christian rule, which is what he also said, is that in areas where they were under Muslim rule, they didn't have the same censorship. And so that's where you find some of these manuscripts. Yes. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Is Yeshu referenced anywhere else in Shas that is censored? The answer is yes. In Masechet Sanhedrin, there's this whole section, there's an entire story of Yeshu that's not there, but you find it in manuscripts. Yes, the entire story. The entire story. We'll talk about it some other time. I'm not prepared to go through it now, but we could do this if you want to go through some censored Gemara. That sounds like a fun shiur. Yeah, the forbidden Gemarot. We're gonna do a whole Gemara series of Gemarot you're not allowed to learn, and you're gonna. Sorry.
What started during.
Yeah. It started afterwards. But this censorship. That's what I'm saying. That the censorship that he's talking about happened 1,100 years after his life. The censorship wasn't during his time; it was by his followers 1,000 years later. Yeah. No question. Okay. Another one. No. Okay. Well, okay, excellent question. So the commentators try to address this, and they do connect the perets. The commentators try to do that. For example, Tzevacha, it says, is Elisha. Elisha's student Gehazi. Tzevacha means to shout. And Gehazi, in the story of the Tanakh, he had Sarat. He got Sarat. And one of the things about Sarat is that he has to shout, Tameh, Tameh Yikra. So they do find this connection for at least one of them. The last one is Berachot in our streets. We don't want one of our students to go out and burn their dish in the streets publicly, which means to go cause a whole public scene. It's one thing to have someone rebel against you, which is what David and Shaul had. They had someone rebel against them, or they had someone inappropriate. But Berachot means that it happened publicly. That there was a public, it wasn't just a private rebellion, but public, which is what Yeshu is the most public thing in the world. There's more Christians than there are Jews than any other religion, really. Yeah? Good? You guys know this guy? This professor? He's very good. Alldaf.com, he quotes his videos. Okay, let's keep going. We got to finish the chapter, man. Share screen. Let's go. Continued. Shim'u elai abirei lev harachokim mitzdaka. So now we talked about, you know how we talked about different, we had some psukim that say the alufenu misubalim, our leaders are carrying a lot. So on one hand, it could be they're carrying a lot of mitzvot, or it could be they're carrying a lot of suffering. So there's going to be a similar thing where you take a line and you could explain it in complete opposite ways. And it's the same two rabbis that explain it these two ways. Listen to me, you strong-hearted people, strong-hearted, which can be referring to Chachamim, or it could be referring to people that are very stubborn. So listen to me, you strong-hearted people, harechokim mitzdaka, you are very far from charity. Okay, what is this referring to? Who are we referring to, and what does it mean that they are far from charity? Machloket, Rav Shmuel, v'amina Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Lazar. Some say the machloket is between Rav and Shmuel. Some say between Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar. They said the following: Chad amar, kol ha'olam kulo nizonim mitzdaka. One says that the entire world, all of our parnasah is coming from charity from God. No one deserves or earns and is entitled to anything. Everyone gets charity. Vehem, but these strong-hearted people, referring to the tzaddikim, gimurim, nizonin bizroa, they are entitled to what they deserve, meaning they are the only ones that aren't getting a gift of charity. While the rest of the world is getting a charity gift from God, they actually earn what they're receiving in this world. So it says, listen to me, strong-hearted people who are very far from charity. It's referring to the tzaddikim. They're far from charity because they're not receiving charity from God while everyone else is, and they're very strong in that they do a lot of actions of mitzvot. That's one way of explaining it. V'chad amar, the other one, another way it explains, it's also referring to the tzaddikim. Kol ha'olam kulo nizonim bizchutam. The entire world is getting zechut, is getting food, is getting parnasah in the zechut of these tzaddikim. Vehem afilu bizchut atzman einan nizonin, and they can't even feed themselves. Once again, you see this cynical, negative, pessimistic view that you have these chachamim that are righteous, they're tzaddikim. The entire world is living on their shoulders and there's zechut, but they don't even have anything to live on themselves. They don't have anything. They're suffering themselves. Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, as there was a statement by Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. Damar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, what was his statement? This was talking about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, the greatest rabbi from the times of the Tanaim. It's Gemara Masechet Ta'anit. B'chol yom v'yom bat kol yotzet mehar Choreb. Every single day a heavenly voice calls out from Har Sinai. Ve'omeret, and says the following: Kol ha'olam kulo nizonin b'shvil Chanina beni. The entire world is living and surviving all in the zechut of Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa. Chanina, my son, it's all in his merit that you're all alive. V'chanina beni, but he, Chanina, my son himself, dailo b'kav cheruvim erev Shabbat erev Shabbat. He himself is only going to get a small portion of carobs once a week. meaning he doesn't live any excess, doesn't have anything, he's just living off carob. So you see this paradox where you have a Talmid Chacham, you have a Tzaddik Gamur, that the entire world is weighing on his shoulders, but he himself doesn't get anything. This is the same thing, remember we said before, Alufenu Mesubalim, they are our leaders, but they're the ones that are suffering the most. It's the same type of parallel here, where sometimes you have Chachamim, that they're the ones that suffer the most. The Tzaddikim, that they're the ones that are hit with tragedy. And we don't know. You know what's interesting is that it doesn't tell us who said what. But one of the rabbis is Rabbi Yochanan. What can you tell me about Rabbi Yochanan? You remember something about Rabbi Yochanan? It was more that. He buried 10 of his children. 10 of his sons died in his lifetime. And he would walk around with a small bone or a small tooth of one of his kids, so that when someone is suffering, you have no idea what suffering is. So it might make sense that this is Rabbi Yochanan talking. That you have the greatest Talmidei Chachamim that are suffering more than anyone else in the world. It's possible. It's possible he said that. Okay, let's go. Now, this was within the world that Abirei Lev is referring to Chachamim. You could say Chachamim are far from tzedakah, which means either that means how everyone else is getting a gift from God, but they actually earn what they get, or it could be they are the ones that they're not getting tzedakah from Hashem, or Hashem is taking care of everyone else in their zechut, but they're not being taken care of, they're just having carobs. Okay? But there's another way to explain this is referring to someone else. Upliga de Rav Yehuda, Damar Rav Yehuda says, no, man Abirei Lev. Who is Abirei Lev? The ones that are strong in the heart? It's people who are stubborn. Gova'eh tipsha'eh. It's these idiot, how do they translate? Foolish gova'eh. There was a group of people that lived in Israel when Am Yisrael moved into Israel. And these people were living amongst us. It's a whole long story. And they were like part and parcel of the Jewish people, but they never converted. They weren't taking on Judaism, even though they were living amongst us. And so Amar Rav Yosef says, Tida, you know that they are very stubborn-hearted because no one from them has ever converted. When you have a nation that's living amongst Am Yisrael, when they are the strongest nation in the world, you're going to have people who want to convert to that religion. You see this actually in Megillat Esther. It says, "V'harbe ma'aretz mityahadim." You would have when the Jewish people were on top and Mordechai was the leader of the world after Haman, people were converting to Judaism. As they say, you jump on the bandwagon. You could jump in because it becomes popular. So when the Jewish people were a popular nation, you had these gova'eh that would live amongst us, and none of them converted. And it says how they're very abirei lev, they're very stubborn. Amar Rav Asher says this about another group of people. Bnei Mata Machseya. This is a city in Bavel, and I'm going to share with you some fun stories after this. There's a city in Bavel that had the largest yeshiva. Abirei lev ninu. The people of that city, Rav Asher says, they are very stubborn-hearted. Because they see the greatness of Torah twice a year, and not even one of them convert. What happened in the city of Mata Mechasya? It had the largest yeshiva every year before Pesach and before Sukkot. They would have people gathering in the yeshiva, like huge amounts. Like all of the Jewry, all of the Jews of Babel would come there. They would study Torah before Pesach or before Sukkot, before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Kippur. They would come and they would study. The people of that city saw the greatness of Torah. None of them converted. So Rav Asher is saying this is what the pasuk is referring to. There was a famous story. You guys know the last Yom HaShas where it was? There's a Daf Yomi cycle, and the last Yom HaShas was on. It was MetLife Stadium. Well, yeah, it was all over the world. In this area, we had it in MetLife Stadium, January 1st, 2020, and it was the largest attendance at MetLife Stadium in history. So much so that I think last year Ed Sheeran had a concert there, and there was things going around that Ed Sheeran had the largest attendance for a concert in history, and all of the reader's context of Twitter was saying that's not true. The Siyum HaShas was the largest one. You know what? Let's do it live. Let's see if they like Siyum HaShas. Largest attendance At a concert? No, at MetLife Stadium. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. The largest attendance. Oh, largest attendance in MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey is 93,000 people. It's at 2012 by the Siyum HaShas celebration. The Siyum HaShas is celebrated at a Talmud study that marks the completion of the 7.5-year cycle. So this was the 2012, not the 2021. The 2012 one. And then look at, you were at the Siyum HaShas. And then here are some other notable attendance. Okay, Ed Sheeran in 2023 had 89,000. And this is what everyone said, no. 93,000 for the Siyum HaShas. I don't get this. Taylor Swift had 250,000 people. I don't know. Over 3 nights. Okay, so the Siyum HaShas had the largest attendance ever. Isn't that crazy? So I want to tell you a story that I heard that day. There was a police officer. No. That day, there was someone in New Jersey who got pulled over by a cop. And he told the story that the cop pulled me over and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt and he was going to give me a ticket. And before he gave me a ticket, he said, hold on a second. Did you learn your daf today yet? He said, what? He said, they just came from learning a daf. Did you learn your daf today yet? And he said, no. He said, go learn your daf. I won't give you a ticket if you're going to learn your daf. Will you do it? He said, yeah. He said the story like, this is a non-Jew police officer, saw what he saw, 93,000. Everyone was doing this. And he was saying in the story how he said how they treated him with so much respect. Every single person who passed by him, said, thank you, officer. Everyone said, good afternoon. Everyone said it's such a thing. He said, I saw it was such warm people. It was really a tremendous Kiddush Hashem. So this is exactly what Rav Asher is saying. Rav Asher is saying is you have the largest yeshiva event. You have people there that should they get a Kiddush Hashem. And if you don't have people that come and they get interested in the religion, that means they're very stubborn in heart. This is a very nice idea. Okay, so the next time you get pulled over by a cop, just tell him you learned the daf. See what happens. I don't know if it's going to help, but try. Okay, let's keep going. Good? Good story. Last Gemara of the chapter. Okay, we need to remind ourselves what we did last. So this way we could conclude in strength. Let's go back and remind ourselves our Mishnah. The Mishnah was where, Andrew? The Mishnah was on 16B. 16B. Okay? Let me go back to the Mishnah for a second. Yeah, we did a lot. 16B.
68.
It is B, but it says 16.
Oh yeah. Okay. Very good. All right. We caught a footnote there. Here we go. The Mishnah on 16b told us the following. I'm just gonna quickly remind us what happened. What happened was there was a whole list of things that Rabban Gamliel would do against the normal practice. It said how Rabban Gamliel took a shower the night that his wife passed away, and his student said to him, "What do you mean you're not supposed to do it?" He said, "No, I'm very sensitive." And someone like me that's sensitive is allowed to. Then he said that it says that when a non-Jewish servant dies, you should not accept consolations and go through a eulogy for the person because people are going to think it's a member of the family. People are going to assume he's Jewish, and they're going to come to make assumptions and marry into that the servant's family. So you have to be careful when you have someone in your household and you treat him with so much love and respect. But Rabban Gamliel did that for his servant Tevi. And they said, why? He said, Tevi was a Talmid Chacham. He was in Tevi Avdi Kishar Avadim Kasher Haya. He was very, very important. I have to. Okay? And then there was a third one. The last one said that on the night of when he got married, he said Shema. Even though a Chatan who's marrying a Betula is Patur on the night of his wedding, he doesn't have to say Shema. Rabban Gamliel did. So look at this last line, because this is what we're going to focus on. Everyone pay attention. Ready? This is the last line of the Mishnah. Chatan. Echatan. Im rotzeh likrot kriyat Shema laila harishon koreh. If he wants to read Shema on that first night, he's allowed to. And you know that Rabban Gamliel did it. But then Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, time out. You think that you can do it because my dad did it? This is Rabban Gamliel's son. Lo kol harotzeh litol et Hashem yitol. Not everyone who wants to take the name of a God-fearing person can take this reputation. Rabban Gamliel, my father, said, you can't stop me from saying Kriyat Shema. I love saying Shema. To be Mekabel Malchut Shemaim, I'm going to say it no matter what. Then the Mishnah, the first opinion, Chachamim say, on your wedding night, if you want, you could say Shema. And then Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, you can't. No, you can. Only someone who is so great and so such a high level, like Rabban Gamliel, that's the person that could say, even though I'm preoccupied with getting married, I could force myself to have kavanah. I'm going to say Shema tonight. But a regular person, you can't say Shema. Okay? Do you understand the machloket? What's the question? Someone explain to me machloket between Chachamim and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. It's very important. Someone explain it. Who wants to be my volunteer? Somebody, come on. Yeah, go ahead.
You say that, like they said before, that it's a Chatan on the first night after his wedding, and like he's supposed to say Shema Barbit, doesn't have to say it.
Okay, so here's the rule. The rule is on the night of the wedding, Chatan is exempt from saying Shema Yisrael. Doesn't have to say it. Why? You remember why? Because he's preoccupied. His mind is thinking about the mitzvah. So a Chatan does not need to do Chatan Patur Mikriyat Shema Laila Rishon. On that night, he's Patur. Okay. Now what we're saying is we have a machloket. But what if he wants to do it anyway? So what we're saying is a Chatan is focused on the mitzvah. Okay. So is he allowed to do it or not? Oh, so it's a machloket. Chachamim say that if he wants to, he can. If he wants to do it, he can. But Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says he's going to seem like he's being arrogant. How so? If I say Shema, why is that being arrogant? Oh, because Chachamim say you don't need to say Shema because it's going to be hard for you to focus. And you say, don't worry, Chachamim, I got this. I could focus. What do you mean? You think you're better than everyone else? Rabban Gamliel did it. He was the Nasi. But that's what, okay, so there's a machloket. Who says that if a Chatan wants to say it, he could say it? Chachamim, the rabbis. Who says that no, you can't, only people of high stature, but you can't do it, otherwise you seem haughty? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Okay? I want you guys get the sides correct? So who is concerned about you looking haughty? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. Who is not concerned about you looking haughty? Chachamim. Chachamim. Good? Perfect. You need to have that background down because we're going to quote right now another Gemara that is the exact opposite. It's the exact opposite. Where Chachamim are concerned about people looking haughty, and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is not concerned about that at all. Same two opinions, similar discussion, but the exact opposite. You ready? Let's go. Final concluding Gemara of the chapter. You guys hot? Let's go. Chatan imrotzeh likrot. A Chatan, if he wishes to say Shema on the first night, Chachamim say he's allowed to. No problem of yuhara, of looking haughty. Whereas Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says he's not allowed to because it's going to look like he's being haughty. So now, Lememra, this is to say the Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel chayesh leyuhara. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is concerned with you looking haughty. Yuhara means haughtiness. He is concerned with the appearance of you thinking you could do something that you don't have to. You think you could push yourself and have kavanah. That's being haughty. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is concerned with that. And the Rabbanan, the rabbis, are not concerned with that. They say, yeah, if you want to do, go ahead. But we learned the exact opposite in Masechet Ta'anit. Where did we learn the exact opposite? Did not, because we learned in a Mishnah. It's actually, this is in Masechet Pesachim. Masechet Pesachim, it comes up and says like this: Makom shenahagu la'asot melacha b'tisha b'av osin. Are you allowed to work on Tisha B'Av? That's the discussion that the Mishnah is going to deal with. Are you allowed to work on Tisha B'Av? Are you allowed to go to the office? Are you allowed to work? Are you allowed to do things? Okay, so you're saying yes, but the Mishnah is going to tell us it depends. Makom shenahagu la'asot melacha b'tisha b'av osin. It all depends on the custom of the area. The region has a practice. If the people of the practice work on Tisha B'Av, then you're allowed to work on Tisha B'Av. Makom shenahagu shelo la'asot. But if the region's practice, the custom of the area, is not to work on Tisha B'Av, Enosin, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to breach from the community if they have a practice not to work in Tisha B'Av. You're not allowed to. Continue the Chachamim and say, V'chol makom talmidei Chachamim betelim. But regardless of what the minhag of the region is, talmidei Chachamim should not work. So what does the Rabbanan say? Rabbanan say that are you allowed to work on Tisha B'Av or not? It depends on the practice of the area. But talmidei Chachamim, no, you're not allowed. Okay? Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, he comes and says, Le'olam yaseh kol adam et atzmo ketamid chacham. For the purpose of this halacha, everyone is a tamid chacham. No one should work. Okay? So do you see how you have a flip here? Because what's happening now? We're saying a law of on Tisha B'Av, Talmidei Chachamim are not supposed to work, regardless of what the custom of the area is. Talmidei Chachamim are not supposed to work. Rabban Shimon says, hey, everyone's a Talmid Chacham. You're a Talmid Chacham. You're a Talmid Chacham. A car for you. Everyone's a Talmid Chacham. So no one work on Tisha B'Av. So now hold on a second. Now you're saying everyone take the status of a Talmid Chacham. Everyone put on a black hat, and everyone don't work on Tisha B'Av. That's what he's saying on one hand. But okay, but why aren't you worried about looking haughty? All of a sudden, everyone's a Talmid Chacham. Okay, very good. So you're going to the answer. Why? By not working. Okay, very good, Ilan. The Gemara is going to give us answers, but you have to really explain it both ways, because not only is Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel flipping his view, because when it comes to Kiryat Shema, he says, "Who do you think you are? You're going to say Shema? You're not allowed to say Shema. You haughty." Okay, so on one hand, he says, no, don't be haughty. But when it comes to Tisha B'Av, he says, everyone should stop working on this day. So I have no concern about being haughty, but you have to flip concern with the Chachamim. Because Chachamim, by Shema Yisrael, everyone could say Shema. No problem about being haughty. Who says you're being haughty? Everyone just say Shema on the night of your wedding, no problem. But then, when it comes to Tisha B'Av, they say, no, only the Talmidei Chachamim shouldn't work. If you're not a Talmid Chacham and you have your custom of the area is to work, so work. So they're over there. It sounds like they are concerned. So let's see what the Gemara says. Okay, good. I think we thought about this well. Let's see it. All right. Question on the question? Go ahead. Someone say question? No? Oh, sorry. Kasha. Kasha de Rabbanan. You have a contradiction between the opinions of the rabbis. Kasha, the Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, and you have a contradiction between the opinions of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. How one time but when it comes to Shema, he's concerned for looking haughty. When it comes to working on Tisha B'Av, he's not. And Chachamim is the flip. When it comes to Shema, they're not concerned with you looking haughty. They say, go ahead, say it. But when it comes to working, they say only Talmidei Chachamim shouldn't work on Tisha B'Av. Okay, so Rabbi Yochanan has a very simple way of dealing with this. Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Muchlefet Hashita, you're right. We got something off. Okay, one of them is flipped. Which one? It doesn't matter. Just one. You're right. They don't align, and they align perfectly if you just switch the names. So switch the names. This is a very simple cop-out answer because you just say typo, but the Gemara says there's another answer. Rav Shisha Bered Rav Idi Amar Leolam Lo Tachalif. No, don't switch and reverse the opinions. Now we're going to explain to you how these two sides can work for both the rabbis and Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. The Rabbanan ad Rabbanan Lo Kasha. There's no contradiction between the opinion of the rabbis. Whereas Kiryat Shema, they said you could read it. Kevan de Kule Amaka Karu. Why? Because everyone is reading it. The Ihunami Kari, he's also reading it. Lo mechzeki urara. It doesn't look like you're being haughty. You have a room of a minyan of 100 people. One of them is a chatan. Every single one, 99 people are saying Shema. You're number 100. You're going to say Shema. Everyone's saying, wow, look how haughty he is. What are you talking about? Everyone's saying Shema. I'm not haughty. Yeah, I want to say Shema. I'm not doing something out of the usual. I'm actually doing something that makes me look like everyone else. It's like almost like the opposite of looking haughty. That's why Chachamim don't have that concern of me looking haughty. So when it comes to Shema, they don't have that concern. Hacha, but when it comes to working on Tisha B'Av, If you're in a region that everyone is working, and you say, no, I can't work today. No, I can't work. Why can't you work? I'm working. He's working. Your brother's working. Your father's working. Why can't you? No, I can't work. Well, you think you're better than everyone else? Now you think that this person is it's haughty. Everyone else, you're in a family business. Your whole family is working, but you say, no, not me. What do you think you are? So this is what Chachamim say, that when it comes to saying Shema, what makes it look haughty, you have to look around everyone else. Shema, everyone around you is saying it. So by saying it, it's not haughty. When it comes to working in a region where everyone else is working, then when you don't work, that's a sign of haughtiness. So therefore, it's only reserved for the Talmidei Chachamim. That's the rabbi side. Now we have to do Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel side, and then I'll open up for questions. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, the Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, the Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel Lokashia, and the sides of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel is not a contradiction. Why? Because when it comes to Shema, hatam b'kavanat milta. What's the concern about Shema? Saying it, everyone could say it. Of course, you could say it. Saying it is not the issue. The issue is having kavanah. And Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, "What are you doing saying it? You think you could have kavanah? We know that it's not possible for you to have kavanah. A man on the night of his wedding, his head isn't there. So we know. So now, it's not that you just have to do something with your mouth. You have to do something with your mind. And we know you can't do that. So by doing it, it's a sign of haughtiness. But when it comes to working, what did Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel say? He says everyone should take the day off. Haro'eh omer, someone who sees him not working, will say, Melacha hu. He says he doesn't have work to do. It's not a busy day. There isn't anything for him to do. Not working is not a sign of haughtiness. Go out and see how many people are unemployed. Go out how many people aren't doing anything. How many people in the middle of the day are going and doing other things, that they're going to a protest or they're going to somewhere to go hold a sign. There's many people that don't have work to do. So this guy is one of them. He also doesn't have. He doesn't. By not working on Tisha B'Av, it's not a sign of haughtiness. It's just a sign of being a bum. Okay, there's other bums out there. It's not a sign of haughtiness. This is basically this is how we line up the two opinions. Okay, let's open up for questions and we'll review. Yes.
Well, Isha is saying that the Chachamim are saying that it doesn't have to do with kavanah. The issue is more of the appearance of arrogance of other people.
Very good.
But earlier in the Gemara, they say the reason that, like 2 Mishnahs ago, why we said you can't say it is because you don't have the right kavanah. So they never say anything about appearing arrogant to other people. They're saying the issue is the kavanah.
The exemption is because you can't have kavanah, right? A chatan on the night of his wedding is exempt from saying Shema. Why? Because you can't ask, the Torah can't sincerely expect of him to be able to have kavanah that night. You can't have kavanah. Now let's say someone says, I could do it. Okay, so the rabbis say, okay, fine, you want to do it, go ahead and do it. There's no issue with us doing it. But you might say, oh, are you sure? Because it could look like I'm being haughty, but I could say, it's like, no one's going to assume it, think twice. You're just going to say, like, everyone's saying Shema, so he's saying Shema also. If anything, it's like the opposite. It's almost like, you know why he's saying Shema? Probably because he doesn't know the law. Like, you're doing something that everyone else is doing. You see a chatan on the night of his wedding saying Shema, probably what you're going to say, the guy is gij. The guy is getting married. He's gij. He doesn't know that he doesn't have to say Shema, so he says Shema. Like, there's no haughtiness involved. Everyone is saying Shema. There's not you going out of the ordinary. Whereas with not working, you would be going out of the ordinary. Because the whole area is working, and you're going to refrain from working, so you're doing something out of the ordinary. That's a sign of haughtiness. Correct. It's like that stringency. Does the stringency look like you being arrogant? So they're not. The rabbis aren't worried about that by Shema because everyone else is saying it anyway. But they are worried about that by not working on Tisha B'Av because everyone else is working. Yes.
Going to the Chachamim, they allowed to voluntarily go to work.
If So
Other people are going to work, you just say, no, I really feel bad for what happened on this day. I don't feel like what work is allowed to, or you keep not.
so that's the machloket.
So you say you can't do that, you have to work.
Correct. Chachamim say that you only the Talmidei Chachamim shouldn't work. It's something reserved for the Talmidei Chachamim. It's not something reserved for regular people. Regular people should be working. Correct. Correct. Exactly. This is how the Chachamim would say, for if a person is in a region where people are working, so work. Don't take the day off. Why should you take the day off? If the region has a custom not to work, then fine. The whole region is like that. But if the area is just Talmidei Chachamim not working,
But you're not.
right, but by doing better, it's like you think that you're better than. Imagine you have, like I said in this example, everyone is working that day. Your father is working, your brother is working, your cousin is working, and then you come and you say, I want to do something more. You want to do something more? It's a sign of you saying, I'm better than everyone else. This is what Chachamim say. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, what are you talking about? Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly. By the way, I think this is how we hold, like Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. He says, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, for this purpose, everyone's a Talmid Chacham. Meaning, like, no one should be working that day. Who cares if your neighbor is working, your brother is working, so what? You don't have to work. But it's a machloket. These are the two sides of the machloket.
But I think it's also give you a choice not to work.
But that takes away from the Talmidei Chachamim. It's like, it takes away, if you say something like a Talmid Chacham should do this, then saying, and whoever wants to come do it also, it's taking the kavod away from the Talmidei Chachamim of the area. Yeah, okay. So you like Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel. It's a machloket. See what there is a machloket here, and he's arguing with one of the sides. Good, you have the other side. That's exactly what the other side is saying. Very good. Yes. Question?
So, like, are you supposed to say Shema on your wedding night? I'm like unsatisfied. Is that
Oh! Joey's unsatisfied. Let's give him a satisfactory answer. He's unsatisfied. The worst thing I would want is for Joey to go home and go to his wife and say, I'm so unsatisfied. This would be the worst thing possible. So let's see what Tosfot says. Okay? We're getting Tosfot that it's not only a third opinion, it's the opposite opinion. Look what Tosfot says. Yeah, very good. Tosfot says, very nice. Hold on. How do I do this? One second. There are certain things that's a lot easier to do with a mouse. This is one of them. Sorry. There we go. Okay. All right. Okay. Umihu. After Tosfot talks about this whole discussion, how you have a machloket about saying Shema on your wedding night. You're not obligated to say it. If you say it when you're not obligated to say it, there's a machloket whether that's you being haughty or not. Rabban Gamliel says, yeah, that's being haughty. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel says, that's you being haughty. Don't do it. Chachamim say it's fine. Anyone could do it. So, is that an issue of being haughty or not? Look what Tosfot says. Mihu, however, anu, us, nowadays, 2,000 years, we're 2,000 years, but he is, let's say, about 1,000 years after the times of Mishnah. Sheveshum pam ein anu mechavnim hetev. That we're never having proper kavanah. People say Shema Yisrael, they're thinking about something else. No one is really having true kavanah in its right sense. Since we don't, gam chatan yesh likrot. Also, a chatan should read on his wedding night. He has to. The Adarabah is the opposite. Niraki yuhara, because it'll seem like you being haughty. Im lo yikra, if you don't say Shema. You're not going to say Shema tonight. What does that mean? That means every other night you say it perfectly. Get out of here. You tell me you never said Shema in your life while you were thinking about something else? You've never said Shema while your mind was thinking about something while you were like texting? Of course you have. So tonight is your wedding. No, I'm not going to say Shema. I can't have kavanah. Get out of here. Just say it. Every other night you say it also. We all say it all the time without having kavanah. That's what he's saying. He's saying it's the opposite. Nowadays we don't have kavanah Adraba, nir'eh ki yuhara im lo yikra. It's going to look like you're being honey if you don't say Shema. Klomar, it's as if you're saying, Ani mechaven bechol sha'ah. I always have kavanah. I have kavanah every single night. So he says over there, Tosfot takes this law and takes the discussion about, am I allowed to say it if I want to, or does that look like yuhara? Tosfot now flips it and says, if you don't say it, you're going to look like you're being haughty. You have to say it. And in fact, this is how we hold. This is what you should say. This is what we say. A chatan on the night of his wedding should indeed say Shema Yisrael. I did because we did Arvit in the Ketubah room. So if you're a chatan and you can manage to do your mincha Arvit, mincha before or whatever, do mincha Arvit in your Ketubah room, then you could do it. You're fine. If you don't say Arvit by the Ketubah room, you're in trouble. Because what's going to happen is you go to the chuppah, you can't go pull a minyan in the coat closets after your chuppah. They're sending you up to the yichud room where you're going to go and you're going to eat something, and then you're going to make your way to the dancing room, and you're going to be dancing and drinking orange juice for the next 4 hours. And then at 3 a.m., go find yourself a minyan to pray. You're not praying with a minyan for sure, but even to pray, you're going to pass out. It's a long night behind you, a long night ahead of you. It's not an easy time to say Shema Yisrael. But even in such a situation, you should say Shema Yisrael. So that's why, if you're a chatan, you should arrange to have any of chatans in the room. Someone getting married soon. Who? Liran. Oh, Liran, you're getting married in May time. I think you could pull it off. Depending on what time you're getting married. To have a mincha arvit minyan in your ketubah room, it's the best. Because if not, practically speaking, it's very hard to actually pray. And this is what we hold like this Tosfot. But this Tosfot has to be one of, this whole flow of the Gemara is hilarious. Why? Because it's like this. So you don't have to say Shema because you can't have kavanah. But if you can have kavanah, then you're allowed to? No. If you can't have kavanah, you shouldn't, because then it makes it seem that you're always having kavanah. So don't say it tonight. And then Tosfot says, actually, now you have to say it, because if you don't say it, then you're saying that every other night you have kavanah, which you're not doing anyway. Just say it. Just say Shema. You don't have kavanah, it's fine. You never have kavanah anyway. We never have kavanah anyway, so you should just say the Shema Yisrael. And that's in fact what we say. What does it take to say Shema Yisrael? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. It takes 2 seconds. But okay, so just say it. You're not going to have the most kavanah, but just say it. So this is what we do. Chatan should say it on the night of his wedding, as we explained. Even if at the end of the night he's going to sleep, you should say Shema Yisrael al mitah. You should say Shema or whatever. Yeah, the whole 3 paragraphs, but at the very minimum, at least 1 line. The machloket as to what is the minimum to fulfill the halakha. Okay, last thing before we go. Last thing. Everybody, look at the screen. 4 words. 4 words. We're going to say them together. Hadran, alach, haya, koreh. What this means is the 2nd chapter of Masechet Berachot we have just completed. The word Hadran Alach means we're going to come back to. Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to come back to the 2nd parak. But for now, we are done and we've completed. Siman Tova, Mazal Tova, Mazal Tova, Siman Tova, Mazal Tova, Mazal Tova, Siman Tova, Mazal Tova. Everyone on Zoom, turn on your video. Yeah.
Israel. Nice.
Okay, Azak Baruch, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Chazak Baruch.
Next week. Azak Baruch.